This episode of JMC is sponsored by Mocha Motion Coffee. Get caffeinated with Mocha Motion Coffee, a mobile boutique beverage bar transforming Lancaster's caffeine scene. Indulge in their meticulously handcrafted espresso drinks, vibrant matcha, real fruit smoothies, and refreshing acai bowls. Catch Mocha Motion at their next stop or elevate your next corporate affair or even private party with their bomb coffee offerings. Now booking into 2024. Sip, savor, and celebrate with Mocha Motion Coffee, where every sip is a journey, journey, and every moment a memory. Learn more at mochamotioncoffee.com. That's mochamotioncoffee.com. Get you some coffee, man. Get me a coffee while you're at it. Yo, what's going on? My name is Felix C. Arroyo. I am the Journeyman. This is the JMC podcast, where we maintain focus and stay continuous through all 4 seasons. I hope y'all are doing safe and ready for episode 72. Today, I bring to you my conversation with Jasmine Ramirez, who owns her own hair salon, Jazz It Up Hair Studio. We talk about bossing up, making big moves as a woman, and she wanted to share this story to inspire and help motivate other women. 15 years in the game as an owner of a hair salon, but many more years behind this craft of hairstyling. She started when she was very, very young, like 5. So, we go through all that. We go through learning that she had a passion for something that came naturally. Being a single mother, a mother of 4, doing what she has to do to make sure that her children are taken care of, but still also following her dreams. The ups and downs that went with growing up, being raised by her mom, but then also her sister and her aunt. So there's a lot of different elements that she brought to the table for her journey that we got into. And at the end of it, you could always tell that Jasmine just always took what she could from an experience to level herself up, as opposed to sitting and crying. Sometimes life does kick you down, but the best thing you can do is take the good from the bad and keep it moving. That is what JMC is about, and that is what episode 72 will continue to deliver. So let's just get right into it, okay? My name, The Journeyman, this podcast, JMC, and this is Jasmine's journey. Let's go. Feel free to talk however you want. Okay. I curse all the time.
Right. I saw that. I'm like, okay, so I don't gotta,
No, you don't gotta be all polite and whatnot.
Right. I just want to be myself.
Be yourself.
Right.
Be yourself. But you reached out like back in the spring.
Right.
And you were like, you said I have because I found we were just talking. I did find the message, and you were like, I got a story, and you wanted to inspire women. So I was,
yes.
I know. Is Jazz It Up? Is that something that you do or did?
Jazz It Up Hair Studio is my hair salon.
Okay, so that is your hair salon. Because I was, like I said, I was trying to get some research, do some research.
Right.
So let's start with your interest in the podcast and wanting to get on, because as much research as I was trying to do, you're very private. I don't see a lot on social media, so I would love for you to start there. What exactly drew you to the podcast? What were you thinking?
Well, I started following you because my brother Thaddeus actually told me about you.
Okay.
When I met you at his house,
yeah,
he was like, "Yo, sis, he got a podcast. You should holler at him." I was like, "Okay, what's his Instagram or whatever?" And I think that's how we got connected on social media. And then I saw you had Amit on there.
Okay,
and I was like, you know what? let me try to give this man a shot. Let me see if he would be interested in hearing some girl power, woman power, woman empowerment. So I was like, yeah, you know what? Let me reach out. And then you got right back to me. I was like, okay, great. Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. We had to reschedule because I know we had 2 weeks ago we had this scheduled, but I had COVID.
Oh, damn.
That's what it ended up being. Yeah, so I was.
Damn. COVID's still around. Go away.
First time I ever got it. Yeah, I was like, wow, 3.5 years
later.
Yeah, and it got me pretty damn good. I thought I could, shrug it off after a day, and I was out for like 3-4 days.
Dang.
Just struggling. So I'm glad we got this rescheduled quickly because I don't like interviews lingering too long. Because then people lose interest and they get busy.
Right.
But nonetheless, so. All right, so you mentioned a couple things. You talked about girl power, women empowerment.
Yes.
So that's something that's important to you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely important to me. I feel like I was raised by a long line of strong women.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't have too many like strong father figures in our lives, like growing up and things like that. I mean, we had some blessings along the way, but for the most part, we came from a long line of strong women. So me being here today, being in business for 15 years, also raising, 4 children.
Okay.
And, being blessed and pretty proud and being successful at even, being a single mom and still running my business and making sure, my children are becoming successful and, reaching their goals, getting to where they want to be. And I'm, they're pushing them, so yeah, like I had, my oldest sister raised me, my mom was there when she could, but then, when I became an adult, my mother was definitely there for me and my children. And, she helped with that part of my life, where my sister helped with, the other part of my life where, growing up through my teenage years and things like that. And,
gotcha.
So like I said, being raised by a long line of strong women, including my aunt, which is my mom's sister. She's pretty close to my older sister's age. So she's kind of more like a sister to me as well. And she was a part of our lives and a part of raising us. And, they definitely did a great job, because like I said, not having our parents there, like most families do, you have your mom, your dad, you have the whole thing going on. And, unfortunately, we didn't have that at some point. Things got a little cloudy and, a little dark for our family at a moment. So my oldest sister and my aunt, they kind of like, picked up the torch and kept the family going, So I'm very thankful and blessed for that.
So when you mention strong women, it goes beyond a mother figure or even so much like an elder in your family was really that close to you as your sister,
right,
raising you. One of the things that you said that I can kind of relate to is like being a little bit closer to my parent as an adult, as opposed to like not really getting what I needed as a child, but then as an adult, maybe you kind of have some sort of like reconnection with your parent. I not so much in those terms, but I can understand. I have a dynamic sort of like that, and so I think it's pretty cool that you can at least that the door didn't close there. I guess you know what I mean, like
right.
with your mom, and you said your sister raised you, so I'm assuming that the relationship with your sister is very close.
Yes, I mean along the years, it became okay. So it started off like mother figure type of thing, and then when I got into my teenage years, it started turning into more of like a sisterhood type of thing. Okay, and then we kind of crashed out because I was growing up and thinking I'm grown now. You're my sister, So, we had some moments, but I could definitely say, I could pick up the phone at any time, give her a call, and she's there for me.
That's cool.
In seconds. Doesn't matter.
Cool.
She's always been there for me. Any milestone in my life, my sister has been there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after a certain age, but like I said, when I became an adult, I feel like I became an adult at 16 because just the kind of lifestyle we lived.
Yeah.
But, when I became an adult per se, 18, 19 years old, my mom was very involved in my life and been ever since. So I'm thankful that, me and her got to, rebuild our connection. And, she's great. Her story alone, made me understand why, our family dynamics and why things went the way they went, So me as an adult being able to understand her versus a child, I was able to, forgive her and then also have a lot more respect for my mom because I didn't really understand the things that she was going through, So
where she was coming from,
what she was going through. So I really do appreciate that, she was strong enough to say, you know what? I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
And, daughter, I'm going to need you to do what you can for your sisters. And my sister did, and my aunt as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel that when you became a mother and you had children, that opportunity to understand your mom kind of became more available to you? You know what I mean? I feel like that's how it is for me in my own world. And I'm always curious, like, when do we start understanding our parents better?
Right.
As adults, it's easy to say now that I'm adult, but I always feel like when children come into play, the perspective starts to change. You
Absolutely. Know what I mean? I was about 19 when I had my, oldest son, and he definitely changed my world. Like I was, young and feisty and definitely out here. So he definitely got me to, got me grounded and to kind of focus on my career. I've been doing hair since I was 17 years old. So when I graduated high school, which was McCaskey, in 2002, I got a job at a hair salon. And that summer, I was able to go back to their summer program and finish my hours up and then go ahead and, eventually get my professional license. So at 17, they hired me, and I've been working as a hairstylist since.
Wow.
Yes. So it's been a long road, but having him at 19, it absolutely calmed me down. And then all I could think about is, you know what? I just can't allow my children to be raised the same way, that I was raised, So, unfortunately, like I said, some dark circumstances came over my parents, and, we were raised, differently. By the time I was 16, like I said before, I was an adult.
Yeah.
So once I had my son, I was like, you know what? Whether one parent or not's here, I just know for a fact that I'm always going to be here.
Gotcha.
So that definitely made me, lock in and focus on my career and focus on being better and, really working hard at, I honestly didn't know where I was working hard to. I just knew that I had to make money and I had to make money fast because life was just hitting me left and right, So, I just said today, we have a family group text and we have like all the younger generation on there, the younger adults and teens on our group text with, all of us. And they were like, my brother Thaddeus was saying, hey, I think you guys, use men should definitely look into doing a trade. That's something that would never go out of style, then you can eventually get your own business. So I say, I've been doing this since I was 17. I'm like the modern day hustler, so they all thought it was funny, but, seriously, like I go, I don't know what I'm going to make as far as money tomorrow or next week. I just kind of like, pray every day and ask God to fill up my day. And he has been since I was 17. So
that's so cool, though.
I'm very grateful and blessed and thankful,
Well, the fact that you stayed with something from the beginning, from the ground up, so to speak, says a lot, because typically around that time, and I'm a victim of this, where in my 19s to 20s, I got distracted, if you want to call it that, with just like the being independent as a young adult, that my goals and aspirations started to kind of like, I thought I was on track, and then I realized I wasn't. I was kind of getting lazy. I was enjoying being young and going out and having fun. But I also understand that when people have children at a young age, like you said, it does ground them. I was 23 when I became a parent for the first time, so I can only imagine being 19, 2 years out of high school.
Right. Even 23 is young. Oh my gosh.
It is.
Especially for a man, not for nothing, but we're more mature than you guys.
Yeah, 1000%. And
at that age,
even now when I look back, like like my oldest will be 21 in November, and I'm like, wow, like I was a baby when I became a parent for the first time. But you don't know that in the moment. You don't realize the situation that you're in. And so I can appreciate that, listening to what you're saying about doing the hairstylist for 15, 17 years. Forgive me. I don't know how many years you just said. I think you said 15. We'll go with 15.
I have a business for 15 years.
Okay.
I was doing hair a lot longer than that.
What was it about the hair? I mean, I know in our culture, for Latinos, for Black and brown people in general, hair is very important, especially for women. So women of color are all about their hair. Was that always something that was a focus of yours ever since you were little?
I just remember Christmas time and birthdays. You know, my sister, she was always about, teaching us how to be young ladies and things like that. So her biggest thing was, getting us baby dolls and Barbie dolls. And I remember those things, so I always be, remember looking at the commercials. I don't know, now things are a little different, but we had commercials, and every time, the little doll baby came crawling around, I was like, I want that. So she always made sure, like, we got that one favorite little thing, as far as a toy, baby doll, Barbie. And I don't know, I just always was just really into it. I remember shaving their heads off. Getting
the
combs,
baby dolls,
baby dolls, Barbie dolls. I did a lot of stuff.
You were trying to cut hair?
I was doing a lot. The hair was cute. I was like, I would do that. I don't know. So I do remember one time I had a baby doll, and I did like a French braid in it. And my older sister, she was like, "Who taught you how to do that?" And I was like, "Nobody." She's like, "So how did you know how to do that?" I was like, "I don't know. I just did it." Wow. And I remember she was like, "Oh, wow, good job." Yeah. And then going forward, we would do like these really high ponytails that sit at the top of your head and these crazy bangs. And I just was into it. And I would just sit in the mirror all day and just try to do things. Yeah. And I was young. I was probably about, when she said that to me, I was probably like, maybe, I swear, like 5 or 6 years old. When she discovered I could do a French braid, when I discovered I could do a French braid, I don't know. I just literally was just playing around, Yeah. And, so once she saw that I really had a talent, I think at the age of like 13, I started actually doing hair on our porch and was making money. I made a little couple dollars, $5, $10, $20. And then we had a really close neighbor friend. And I remember I did her little braids in the front of her hair. And then she owed me like $10 or $15, and I was like pissed off because she didn't give it to me yet. My sister was like, "You better go and pay my sister."
Has she paid you yet?
And she did. She did. But she was just like, "Isn't that serious?" I was like, "Yeah, girls, that's serious. I needed my little 15."
We don't put nothing on credit when it comes to
like. So between me playing, I have another sister that's like about a little over a year older than me, and our oldest sister raised us too. Okay, gotcha. So I was doing her hair, my hair, just always playing around. I think we didn't really have a whole lot growing up, so it was just like imagination at its best.
Yeah. Well, that's typically like pretty much our generation probably is the last to have that experience of like not. Everything is available now, for kids. You could just Google anything and learn something. Yeah,
nothing comes off the top of your head most of the time anymore.
Devices are in your hand. And I feel like that the generation that we were in, it was like we transitioned between one life into another with the technology jump. We grew up and we didn't have that. No. So you were forced to kind of like make things happen. You did a French braid. You didn't even know it was called a French braid.
No, I didn't. I know now because I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
When 13 years old, you're doing this now and making some cash flow. Then is it safe to say that was when you just. Where were you at life when you were like, the business aspect of owning a hair salon?
Well, I was about to start high school the very next year. I was about to be 14. Yeah. And then, we got our like information about the high school, what's there to offer, things like that. And then, they had this cosmetology program. So, my sister was like, "Oh my gosh, Josh, I really think you should do cosmetology." And I was like, "What's that?" She was like, you could do hair like as a career. And I was like, oh, you could do that as a career? Like, I guess I never really went to a hair salon. I've been to people's kitchens and things like that. But I guess I never really thought that you could make a career out of it. So she explained to me like, this is something you could do like professionally. maybe you should think about it. You're really good at it. You love to do it anyways. It would be easy. It would just be so easy for you to just get, your license and, go from there. She was like, you don't. And I was like, well, I don't want to do hair for a living. And she was like, well, you don't have to, but just do it through high school.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
And then she was like, then after that, you could decide if you want to do something else. At least you have, one career or, some type of program under your belt, a certificate or something besides your, high school diploma. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And then, we did it. I had the cosmetology program at McCaskey, and it was a success.
Yeah.
I've been through a lot of bumps in the road, those years, but I made it through and I managed to, graduate on time in my class. And like I said, a few months after graduating, I was working as a professional in a salon.
Yeah. Do you remember the first place you worked at?
Absolutely. I'll never forget. It was Sister's Hair Salon.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Sharon, man, I love her. Sharon and Chantel both, they showed me a lot, but Sharon was a big, major role in my life. She was a huge part of my professional career, I should say. She definitely was big on teaching me how to be a professional, knowing how to come in and turn it off. Like I said, I was feisty. I was 17. Yeah, she was like, girl, she used to say, what am I going to do with you? And I used to come in like, am I fired? Are you fired me today? Let me know before I start. She was like, calm down.
I'm trying to think of where this is at. Is that on Manor? Is that the one on Manor?
It's on Manor now, yeah. Okay. But it used to be on Landis Valley Road.
Okay.
Right there by like Conestoga, the river back there, off of Broad Street.
Yep.
So, yeah, I was definitely walking from where I lived in the city all the way down there by that river, getting to work every day because I didn't have a car or anything. And getting a cab was just crazy. Like, I couldn't afford that.
Yeah. So there was no Uber back then.
No, and Uber's expensive. My kids are, can I get an Uber? No.
Yeah.
But anyways, I definitely... And I'm grateful for Sharon. She showed me a lot, a lot. Oh yeah, she's like the base of why I continue to do it.
Gotcha.
She definitely was a great mentor.
Wow.
Miss her dearly. She, rest in peace. But
she's passed on. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
she did, unfortunately. But she definitely made her mark. Especially with me.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it.
Absolutely.
We're still doing it now.
Yeah.
And the only one I know of is on Manor Street because I grew up right on 4th, so that spot there, I remember Sisters. I remember seeing that on the side there. So small world. Okay, so this is cool because one of the things that I always appreciate, and I mentioned this before, it's like listening to people's stories about like what inspired them. But you mentioned there were some bumps in the road, which is a common theme, which is like the part of the podcast is like, let's talk about the bumps in the road because it's easy to get for people to kind of see the success of it or like, like the look at what you're doing. Wow, that looks so cool. But it's not an easy road. It's easy to get distracted. Like I mentioned, it's easy to give up. It's easy to be like, fuck this because it's hard.
Right.
So what were some of your bumps in the road? Was this during your the McCaskey years with cosmetology?
Yeah, it absolutely started then. I think, once I hit like 16, my mind just kind of like switched.
Yeah.
Something clicked in me, like I said, our sister raised us. She was 19 when she started raising us.
Okay, wow.
And we were about like 4 and 5 years old, me and my other sister I mentioned that's a little older than me. So by the time I was 16 years old, we were very independent. My sister taught us to be independent young ladies. And, she just instilled all that into us. And because she was young, raising us on top of, having a husband at a young age and also having, a child of her own at a young age, a lot of responsibility was left on us because now she's working full time and we're getting home from school before her. And, she did very well with, teaching us how to keep a home kept, I should say. So we had chores, we had to help out, with dinner and things like that, get this started, season the chicken, she showed us things and, she'd give us a call at 3:30, like, hey, remember what I told you to do? Get this, do that, this, that. And, we did. So at 16, I just felt like, I just was like, enough is enough. I can't no longer follow your rules.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't many rules. Like, she just wanted the best for us.
Yeah.
And, she, gave her heart to the Lord. And, that was hard. It was great at the time, because I was saved. The whole family was. It was wonderful. But then, I think, when you first become saved, I don't know if you know about this, but when you first become saved, I feel like people are so on fire for God that, everything's a sin. Everything's bad. Don't look at the TV. Yeah. So at my teenage years, I just couldn't.
What's a real, at that time in your life?
It's like I couldn't be a normal teenager, and I don't think my sister could, at the time, because like I said, she was new at it and saved. She couldn't, understand how to kind of like, not bend the rules, but, give us some grace, So it was, at some point, it went from us being raised a certain way to now being raised another way in a very religious home. And it was like, oh my gosh, I breathe the air, I'm sinning, At 16, I was like, man, forget this. I'm done. So, so I was being rebellious and, moved out at that time. It was crazy. I can't believe I did that to this day. You moved out
at 16?
I did. And I've been on my own ever since, really. I fought through a lot of adversity and a lot of trials and tribulations, being on my own. I remember sharing an apartment with some friends, and we were young, irresponsible.
Sure.
I feel like I couch hopped a few times. Like I've done some things, at a really young age. So I was definitely, like I said, very rebellious, and I think it just, a lot of it had stemmed from us growing up the way we did. And I think I was I know now I was really hurt and angry about my life, and I'm seeing other people being raised a certain way and with their families and things like that. At 16, they're getting their license, their mom's taking them or their dad's teaching them how to drive, and it's like, I didn't have that.
That structure.
So, right. So, I think I became a little bitter, a little, angry about, like why I had to be raised this way? Why is my life this way? And I just really became rebellious and started doing things, going against the grain. And then, of course, we had this, religion now that was just getting like crammed down our throats and our backs. Like, oh my gosh, we were at church, I swear, every day of the week, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can I catch a break? So it just was just a little overwhelming, everything. And then I feel like I just snapped, and it was like, I'm done. I can't do this no more. So so all through my high school year, I will say I was probably was I in 10th grade? No, in 11th grade is when I finally was like, all right, I'm moving out of here. I have to do this on my own. And, my sister, was torn apart over it. I definitely, we said our sorries to each other, but I definitely, regret, putting her through that, and I always pray that my children would put me through that. I'm like, oh my gosh, but like I said, we had unfortunate circumstances growing up. So, I was really, at 16, I feel like I was really like 21, 25. Like, we just really, at 14, I had a job, and we depended on that job. It wasn't like I had a job for fun. Like my 14-year-old had a job over the summer this year, and he still got all his money. I told him he owes me so much money.
That's his stash.
Listen, I'm like, you owe me about $400 now. He's like, $400 how? Like, I'll just add it up. But they don't know what it's like to really have to rely on a paycheck. So I was, like I said, we were raised up pretty fast. So I finally, fought tooth and nail and graduated on time by the skin of my teeth, I swear. Yeah. And anytime, let me tell you, I was on my own, probably 11th grade and 12th grade high school years. And anytime I needed my sister, she was there. It didn't matter. She could be pissed off at me. She could have, screamed at me, yelled at me. I don't know how many times she dragged me by my hair. Like, we're sisters. She didn't know what else to do at this point. And and I was just real feisty. So she was just like, anytime I needed her, she's there. Even to this day, So I feel like she raised us to be like strong, powerful women. So due to that, I feel like that's why I am here today.
There you go. I think it's cool that you can say that, though. Mm-hmm. And I don't know your sister, but I would assume that coming from a place of she's the oldest of all the kids, or
Yes.
Okay, so she had this responsibility, and I'm sure that she's aware of and remembers a lot more.
Oh yeah.
That you were too young to remember. So there's a lot that I'm sure she was carrying at that time, where she felt that there was no other option for you but her to be present the way that she was.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure the lines were blurred. Are you my sister? Are you my mom?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I appreciate what you said about that you were forced to grow up quick. That's common amongst people that grow up like without any type of like we talked about the structure in the home, or you were jealous seeing things that you wish you had. Like,
Right.
I remember growing up and feeling the same way, and I would always hear like, well, you're very mature for your age.
That part. I
Yeah.
always heard that. They're like, oh, you got like an old soul.
You got an old soul. And I'm like, that's cool. But as I get older, I realize that there was a lot that I didn't have because it wasn't in the cards for me.
Right.
But I can appreciate, again, we're talking about like, you're not standing on your soapbox crying about.
No. We didn't have time for that.
We didn't have time for that.
Didn't have time for that. My sister's like, dry them tears, keep it moving. Let's go.
Yeah. A couple things that you mentioned, and we don't want to talk. If you don't want to talk, but we don't have to. But you mentioned the dark times, difficult times.
Yeah.
What were some of those things? Did you want to talk about that at all? Or
I mean, briefly, my parents, they just, separated and unfortunately fell into, addictions and things like that. We lost our dad. I was about 9 years old when he passed away, and, my mom wasn't, she wasn't there. She just was absent, just messed up in her mess, living with a lot of guilt, living with a lot of regret. And, I think it kind of made her spiral out of control even more because, we did have that strong foundation of a family. Like my older siblings, they had my mom and dad, and they went on vacations, and they did have, I think my brother told me, they had like an RV and they drove down to the beach and things like that. And we were babies in there,
Gotcha.
But, my memories start at 3 or 4 years old. And that's when, my sister started raising us.
Gotcha.
So with that being said, I always felt like, why couldn't we have that?
Yeah.
So to see other people grow up that way, it was just like something that I was like, I don't know. I just never would ever experience it, and it was just like, wow, that's like so impossible to have a family like that.
Yeah.
That's how I always felt growing up. So, but my mom, when my dad passed away, I think that kind of definitely started waking my mom up a little more. And then, when I started getting into my teenage years, she started coming around more. And then finally, when I was about 18, 19 years old, I had my oldest son. She was already clean and had herself together. She gave her, life to the Lord. And she had some bumps in the road herself. Sure. But, to this day, she has her story. She tells it. She has her ministry, and she likes to, encourage youth and things like that, and other addicts. And, so I know she'll be proud to hear me talk about her story somewhat. But, she overcame a lot. And I know now her overcoming those things, it not only empowered me, but it made me stronger to be a better mom for my children.
Yeah.
And, that's like my mom's biggest fear is like one of us lose it, like our dad and her, they lost it, So she's always kind of like a little, overbearing sometimes.
Sure,
I'm like,
sure.
Mom, cut it out. Oh, God. You know how old I am? I don't care how old you are. So, she could be overbearing at times, but I know it's because it's her fear of us, losing it like she did. She doesn't want that for us. And she sees how, we had to fight, to get to where we're at. And, so... Yes, it's been a long road. I tell you, like, no one really knows my story. Like, they know me. They're like, oh, Jazz, you're a blast. You have a great personality, And I think I became this bubbly person because I had to kind of laugh through a lot of things and smile through a lot of hurt and pain.
Yeah.
So I've learned to, cope and deal with things, and honestly learn to not let, adversities take me out, kick my ass. It was just like, you know what? I'm going to take that on the chin. Yeah. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to just smile along the way.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword because it's like a noble thing to do, to be like, nah, we're going to keep it pushing. But then you're also like, for me, I'll speak for myself. It was like, I'm gonna keep it pushing, and then like years down the road, it's like you're forced to deal with a lot of the things that you've been ignoring because you've just been grinding and going.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And like, as I get older, empathy and sympathy for my parents is more and more involved in my life, where I'm like, I don't look at them just as my parents anymore. My father passed away this past December, and our relationship wasn't the greatest, but it's like, now that he's passed away, I'm becoming more understanding of maybe where he was coming from, where he was at, what he dealt with, the baby boomer generation that had to deal with so much.
Right.
So I kind of like, when I listen to your story, I get those vibes where I really do appreciate when somebody is able to say like, yeah, that shit sucked. It was fucked up, but we're good now. And
Right.
I didn't let it destroy me or my relationship. Because there's a lot of different stories you can hear where people were just like, I don't talk to my mom anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that takes strength, and like, that's what this podcast is about in a way too. It's like highlighting, like, look what the fuck you're doing. That's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Right. I would say, my mom, I was able to forgive her because when she came around our teenage years, she started telling us her story. Like, she would randomly, we'll be up late talking and things like that. We're young, we're curious, so I'm asking her questions. And she would start telling me some real gruesome things. And I'm like, wow, Mom, you really went through that? She was like, yeah. And she really like got into some details, like, wow, like it was like a movie being played, the way she explained things. I'm like, oh my gosh, living in the streets of, Brooklyn, New York, and, so many people she came across and things, she had to do to survive. I was like, wow, it definitely gave me a different perspective of, what she went through, and, like I said, her guilt kept her way longer. And she was like, you know how many times I wanted to come back to you guys, but the guilt kept me away. And then, she finally found the place where she was able to clean herself up and things like that. And she found, God again.
Yeah. And
that's when she started, her journey on, getting clean and staying clean. And like I said, she had some, she, backed it a couple times, but, at some point she got it together. I think when her grandkids were born, it really was like, okay,
yeah,
this is my time to, not my time to shine, but like my time to, give back and finally have an opportunity to be a part of my children's lives again.
Yeah.
And, she raised all her grandkids. That's, my oldest son is about to be 20 years old. So she raised them. So I'm like, hey, you know what, Mom? That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So because, she was there for me during those times, and she fought to be there. Like, when, you're an addict, it's not easy to do the right thing. My mom had to really fight tooth and nail to, stay clean and be the woman that she is today, and their grandmom she is today. I don't even think my kids know half the stories we know. And I will never tell them, because I feel like if my mom ever wanted to give them, her brutal, honest, ministry, she could do that herself, because I never want to tarnish that, because my kids look at my mom a certain way, and I'm like, Grandma been through a lot, they're like, Mom, she's wild and she's crazy. I was like, yeah, she's a tough cookie. She's from the streets of New York. She tells them all the time, I slap you at your mom. I was like, all right, Mom, can we leave that part out?
Like, well, I'm just sitting there.
Sheesh. So yeah, she definitely played a major role in our children's lives, so I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful that we were able to get her at a second win, you know what I mean? And she's, she's still around, anytime I need her, she's there as much as she can,
Yeah.
I love her.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, because like, considering everything you said, it seems like you're a deep person.
Absolutely.
And, the when you said second win, that the second chances in life, like, I feel like the older I get, the more I'm just like, I really don't want to have any like beef, and I just want love and understanding. So what can I do to be a better person, to understand what I may have done to upset you, but more so like, what can I do to let go of what you've done to me so that we can at least be on better terms? And that's just like parents, friends, co-workers. Like there's time. Don't get me wrong. I got people where I'm like, you fucking drive me crazy. And I got time for you.
Right.
And there's a time and a place for that because you don't want to let people walk all over you.
Right.
But like more and more, I'll be 44 and I'm just like, man, I just really want to understand more like how can I use empathy and sympathy, like I mentioned earlier, like how can I use that as a tool to be a better person? Like, because you don't know what people are going through in their life.
That part.
For the most part, people kind of like they lose that card because they could be super disrespectful and wild out. But there are people who they're just going through some shit, and if you really get to know them and understand them, there's a connection there and an understanding that like may benefit you. So I'm curious, like, do you ever think about things like that at all?
I definitely, ran across some people that fully took advantage of my empathy. I'm a very empathetic type of person, and I think that's why I do well at what I do. I'm a very creative person, so doing hair helps me, bring my creativity out and keeps me busy. But a lot of women sit in my chair and they share their journeys and their stories.
Sure. Okay, that's a good point.
So I take on a lot of people's, sorrow and joy, and that's a lot. Not everyone can do that. There's a lot of people. I'm starting to learn, and just with my own experiences of life, I mentioned I'm a single mom, but with my own experiences of life, there's people out there that really don't have that empathetic side of them, and they're very like how do you say, like their emotions are like turned off. So they don't feel sorry. They'll wreak havoc and not care. Where me, I'm like, oh my God, I can't do that because that would destroy this person. So I would definitely say, like, me being in the business that I'm in, I do take on a lot of people's stuff, and because I listen a lot due to my profession and my career, I kind of put that into my own life and my own perspective of things with other people outside of like my studio. So when I get to know a person, I really get to know people. Like I can almost feel how they're feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
Because it's like an instant connection. And now that I'm wiser, I can almost tell when you're trying to run circles on me too.
Okay.
Not almost. I can.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, okay. I've dealt, like I said, when you're an empathic person, like you definitely take on people's things. So sometimes, those people, like I mentioned, don't have like those connections to emotions as much as you do.
Yeah.
They see that, you're sucking everything in, and then they kind of like suck you dry.
Yeah.
So those type of, you gotta definitely, pick apart. And not allow them to suck all your energy, because I've done it with friends, relationships, even some family members. Like, damn, like,
sure.
So now I'm just like, what I've learned, and you said I'm a very private person.
Yeah.
And I've learned to be that way because of that, because I know, like, I have a very small circle of friends. I can count all my girlfriends on one hand. And then of course my family circle was pretty tight, and you're not going to really see me just anywhere because, I just kind of like my privacy, and because I know I have a big heart and I will like wear my heart on my sleeve for someone, I have to protect that.
Yeah.
So I kind of, cram in and, stay to myself a little bit at times, because I just can't give that to everybody, you know? It's a gift you have, and you can't give it to anyone. Yeah. If you want it at any moment, make an appointment.
Yeah.
Make an appointment that jazzes it up, and I can give you a little of my energy. But you can't suck me dry there, because once you're gone, you're gone.
No, that comes up a lot in this podcast too, is like respecting your energy.
Yeah.
Respecting energy, period.
Yes.
But also knowing like you're sometimes, the cup needs to refill.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to hold yourself a a little bit higher than others because you need to take care of yourself in that regard.
That is the part there.
Let's transition then back into the hair salon because I like this conversation. I didn't think about this, but it makes a lot of sense when you see you're taking on a lot.
Yeah.
What is it like? I'm curious. Like, what's your opinion on this? Like, what is it about hair salons, barbershops? Like, when you're sitting in that chair and someone's doing your hair, there is like this like relationship, like the bartender relationship where someone's there taking care of you and you just divulge like what you're going through, how your day is, and there's like this banter of, oh man, I feel better now. Like, do you feel that that is a necessary part of your job? Obviously you are that type of person, but is that, you think, part of your success and maybe part of somebody else's success? They need to be able to listen to somebody and maybe like have that banter back and forth.
Absolutely, because when I first started, like I was definitely born natural doing hair per se, but I definitely was messing up some stuff. Yeah. I gave a couple bald spots. I waxed a couple eyebrows off. I burnt some hair down. I did a couple things. So those clients definitely came back to me because they just loved my energy.
Okay.
So it was like, it's okay, Jazz, we know you're learning. Let's try it again. Or I'm like, hey, I got something new in here. Want to give it a shot?
There you go.
And then, it's a big it's a big bust. Did it work out at all? I went to her hair show, I came back inspired, and then it all went away real fast. So I've done it all, So I would definitely say a lot of my clientele was based off of, me being so young. I feel like, they wanted me to win. So they just gave me chance after chance after chance till I got it. And then I feel like my A1 day ones, they just kind of like, we just kind of like created this bond in this relationship. I could probably shave their whole hair off on accident and they'll still be back, because they love me that much. And I love them that much because, now you create like this friendship that's like a family ship now. So, I would say a lot of my clientele been with me, some for as long as I've been doing hair.
Wow.
From the time I've been 17,
Wow. That's
I'm very
dope,
grateful
though, that you have that type of relationship and clientele.
Yep. So I could honestly say it's 50-50, you at some point got to have the skills now.
Yeah.
But then a lot of it, you could have a lot of skills and not have no personality, and a client won't even come back to your chair because they need to feel comfortable also.
Right.
And
when you mentioned that there are people that don't have that empathetic quality about themselves, have you come across people in your business that don't have that? And it's kind of like, you really could be doing a lot better if you would stop being so cold. Yes, I had stylists that work, and now they venture off into their own thing, and then I hear through some things that they're still the same. I'm like, wow, like how do you still survive? But it's 50-50. So if you have great skills in the profession or the career, you're definitely gonna go a long way. But you'll have that I guess you'll have that, what's the word, like not history, but like repertoire.
You'll have that, reputation of, oh, she does great hair, but she's a bitch.
Yeah.
But I'll still stay in her chair because damn, she does my hair so good. So yeah, I would never want that. Is that common?
Like, will women deal with getting their hair done by a woman that can be nasty in a way like that, but the hair is so good?
Yeah, I feel like, like I said, it's 50-50. So to see certain people still around doing their thing, and I know how they are for real because I've worked with them and, known them for so long, I'm like, it's the skill. Yeah. Because I can even say hands down, they do this and they do it well, But they also, also can lose clientele because of that too. Some are like, I don't care how good you do, if you're going to be a bitch to me, I'm never giving you my money, So you get that too. So you have stylists that are that way who don't really care, It's just like, it's black and white.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I'm all about the gray. It's horrible. I'm learning to be more black and white, but there's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I listen to the gray, like, what? So what happened in between there? Like, when, because
sometimes that heart needs to just go right back up there.
Yeah, that's what I said. My circle's small. It's small.
When I was talking with Amit, one of the things that we talked about, obviously, I bring him up because hair salons and barbershops are they go hand in hand sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you see in the communities they're so close together. The competition in his field, what he was sharing with me, how the competition in Lancaster. I'm curious in the field of work that you're doing. What is it like in Lancaster? Do you see, is the playing field wide open for hair salons in Lancaster? Is there a lot of competition in Lancaster? Like, what's your perspective on that?
There is a lot of hair salons in Lancaster. Competition. I mean, I feel like any stylist or barber, they're going to have competition around because there's always going to be at least more than one salon, unless you really live in a really tiny town. But here in Lancaster, I feel like in my younger years, there was tons of competition.
Yeah.
Like I remember opening up my hair salon and then, another hair salon opened up and they're like, I'm doing this. I don't, like, with a couple of dollars in my pocket, not much in the bank, I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna do this. I had a, enough clientele and things like that to, to maintain and grow. But, then this other salon came in and it was like, wow, like they had it going on. They had like 3 owners, they had like a marketing team. I'm like, marketing? Damn, I don't even got enough money to shoot, tie these ends. Like, marketing team. How they? So we kind of like opened up at the same time. So it's nice to see that even though they started off like, oh my goodness, like super 5-star, and I'm probably like, I'm giving 5-star work, but
I got you.
I was the little engine that could, you know what I mean? So to see them grow and, have, another salon or 2 and things like that. And for me to still be open just as long as they have been open and even in the same location. And I've definitely evolved and, changed a lot of things in my salon. We renovated a few times and, to see that they're still there and so am I, it makes me feel like, you know what? I am 5-star. I am 5.
There you go.
I am top-notch quality because if we did this at the same time and you started off on a way bigger scale than I did, and I'm still here just as much as you, and then I even get your clientele because they weren't happy with your work, that says a lot for me to, and it's a lot for me to be proud of. So competition, yes, but I don't look at it as competition anymore. I think I look at it more as like it makes me more motivated every day to do better.
Yeah.
So when I see, certain, salons or barbershops, and, they're really elite, and together, I'm like, okay, my salon is definitely elite because the quality and the skills are there. Like everyone that has worked with me or worked for me, even to this day, they have, crazy skills. I can't even deny that. And there have been, quite a few that I have, taught, and they, everyone that worked for me definitely left and opened up their own business.
There you go.
So I used to be upset about that.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I'm creating more competition. What?
Yeah.
But then I started to look at it in a different perspective. Like, wait, hold up now. That's saying a lot about me.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Like, okay, I'm actually doing something good here. Like, not only am I empowering young women, but I'm also teaching them the business, and they're not leaving me to go work for someone else.
Yeah.
I could probably count 1 or 2 that did that.
Yeah.
You know how many people have worked for me over the years and worked with me for over the years? So for them to leave and then open up their own business shows their loyalty, and 2, like they really sucked in everything I showed them and taught them. Because I feel like knowledge is power.
Yeah. 100%.
If you can teach me something, why can't I teach someone else something?
Yeah.
So I stopped looking at things as competition. I look at it now as a blessing for me to bless someone else, because I had some elite stylists leave me that I had since they were 16 years old to, adults, and, some adults in my life for about 5, 6, 7 years, and they leave and they do their own thing. And my salon doors are still open. I'm still swamped during certain seasons when it's expected to be. Yeah. So even though I helped create, or not create, but I helped the foundation of a lot, stylists that work for me to open up their businesses, it still doesn't stop my blessing. Yeah. So once I've experienced that over and over and over again, I'm like, you know what, God, now I know my purpose.
Yeah. I feel like that's something like, when I'm researching like shit for the podcast and like starting a business and shit like that, a lot of people that I listen to and follow, one of the common things that I'm hearing is like, there's more than enough space and room to eat for everybody to eat. It's just a matter of understanding that concept and then getting into the lane that is meant for you and letting it be. Yeah. And a lot of people get caught up in like you said, like, I'm creating competition. I need to be a gatekeeper. I gotta keep you at bay. I gotta keep this shit here for me. And that's really where I feel like a lot of people's problems begin. So I completely 1000% agree with you. Like there's always a space for everybody to get in and get their money, as long as it's done right. And I'm sure there's a code in the business that you do, and that's one of the things that I was talking with Ahmed also. It was just like, when people do leave, like, how does that work? Is there an understanding, like, I'm happy for you, but just don't be taking my clientele? Do you deal with that at all?
That gets dicey, tough, man. It can, because with so barbershops and salons are a little different. Okay. Barbershops, they get to rent out their chairs, where hair salons in the state of Pennsylvania, you can't rent your chair out. You have to have everyone on a payroll. Oh, okay. So because everyone's on a payroll, I have to keep a schedule for everyone. So I do have, an appointment app that I use, and I use that to schedule all the clientele. I have all the stylists on there, and I help them, build a schedule on a daily or weekly basis. So I have control of everyone's schedule, but they also have control of their own as well. Gotcha. So they can go in and look at clients' information, phone numbers, and I would love to be like, you can be on there and schedule people if you like, but you'll never get no one's information. But then you know what happens with that? They're calling me at 7 a.m. or 10 before their appointment. I'm running late. Can you let the client know? And I'm like, hold up now. Yeah. I got my own. I don't just manage a salon. I actually do this too. Yeah. So if I'm not just as busy as they are, I'm busier. Sure. So I don't have time for that, and I don't care to hire someone to sit at a desk and watch me and make phone calls all day. I just don't like it. I work too hard for you to look at me. So, hold up now. I should be sitting down,
Yeah, so, especially by now, right?
Right. So in my salon, like I said, my salon's a little different. So every stylist is responsible for their own clientele, for their own not only their own clients, their own schedule. So if they are running late, if they can't make it, if they're going on vacation, it is their job and 100% duty to make sure they take care of their clientele altogether. Now, of course, I have people like, Jazz, I can't talk, I'm really messed up. So it's like, can you let them know what's going on? Like, okay, yeah, I got you. But for the most part, they they keep it together. So I don't have that. And so they do have 100% control of their schedule. So I think with that, it does teach them how to manage. So once you learn how to manage, then you know how to run something. Then you can kind of run your own business. So that's why I feel like a lot of my stylists have that foundation.
Gotcha.
And then I have someone that ends up working for me that's, really responsible. They care about the salon just as much as I do. And, then they become like, my right-hand man. So if I want to go on vacation, they'll stay back, run the salon and take care of whoever else is there and the clients and things like that, communicate with me, properly. So now they know how to run Jazz It Up. Yeah. You know how to run any salon, you can do your own, know. So I think that's why they always kind of learn how to do it on their own because everyone has to manage themselves. My sister, that's like a year older than me, she like runs like 16 stores.
Okay.
She's no joke. But she always tells me, oh my gosh, Jazz, you need to get your management skills together. I'm like, sis, that is not for me. I can't manage too well. I'm a little too laid back. You know, I've had my moments where I have to kind of be stern. But I have to like, people have to kind of have their own responsibility because I have to have my own too.
Yeah.
Not only am I running a hair salon, I'm also, you know, running a household with children. I have my own personal schedule, sports schedule with them, and then my hair salon schedule and clientele and emails and this and that. You know, we also do weddings. That gets crazy. So I need everyone to do their part, managing
you don't
themselves.
Be babysitting.
I can't do that. I can't micromanage nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so even if I did have a list, that list probably under the desk somewhere.
Yeah. That's one thing I did not know that barbershops and hair salons are different in that regard where.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, a barbershop, for instance, because I don't think and I may be wrong, but from what I know of, everyone kind of runs their own schedule. Like they have their own situation going on as far as, this is my app, you book me and I'm at this barbershop and they pay, you know, their weekly rental fees or whatever to the owner. But the owner isn't necessarily per se in 100% control of their clientele and schedule. Now, the barbershops, they do depend on a lot of walk-ins. So do salons too.
Sure.
But I think they have a lot more walk-ins than hair salons do because, you know, men are just last minute. I feel like. So, you know, they get their walk-ins. So there's a barbershop that can have tons of walk-ins and have an elite barber there. And then that barber is going to leave, take his clientele that he has, but they will lose walk-ins and other things that came with that barbershop.
Nice.
You know, where, you know, the salon, if someone wants to leave me, they could probably plan it pretty well because, you know, they could see the clientele on the schedule, you know. But I can say, you know, it doesn't even matter. I used to fear that, but I don't fear that anymore, you know, because honestly, me blessing other people and giving them knowledge and showing them, you know, the game of how it all goes, it continued to keep my doors open. Yeah. You know, so I'm blessed. I don't have fear in that anymore.
Yeah. Well, you also seem like you're very, you're giving in that regard in the information and you're willing to teach and if someone's willing to learn, obviously, you have to work in, which is dope. And that probably does also aid in your success because when you're able to kind of be like, I got nothing to hide. I'm going to help you because, again, we go back to like, there's more than enough. I can get mine. Yeah. I'm not worried about it. Right. I'm going to help you get yours. That does aid in your success and overall reputation as well.
Absolutely. I have, you know, really good confidence that anyone that left me, they have nothing but good things to say about me, you know, because even with them being gone or leaving, in the process of leaving, I still, gave them respect and gave them my blessings and, you know, follow their pages, you know, like their work and still try to support as much as I can, you know, like we don't work side by side anymore, but, you know, I still, you know, you played a big major role in my life and my success. So I'm going to, you know, do the same with you, you know, and still, you know, support you, you know. Nice.
You know? One of the things that you mentioned, when we were first messaging about this interview, you were saying that I want to inspire young women. So let's talk about then like your story in general, starting your own business, pretty like from the bottom up. You didn't have anything to like kind of like fall back on it or a blueprint. It was pretty much like something you've been doing since a child that became like this career driven goal of yours. What is some advice that you would give to women that are starting out, not so much in your field of work, but any field of work? Some advice that you would like to give them since you were talking about that already.
I would definitely say do what inspires you. If I had to choose, you know, another career, I think I'll be a counselor. Yeah. Because like I really like to just give knowledge and help people find their niche in life, you know. So I would just tell women, you know, find that niche that works for you. And if you could turn it into a career, you could wake up every day and be motivated and happy to, you know, make it to work and be there, you know, and, you know, because you're there and you're waking up every day motivated, you know, you're going to become more and more successful, now you get into a career or a job that you hate. I mean, no one wants to wake up like, oh, I gotta go to this job, I hate it. You're not gonna give 100%. So I just say, find your niche and go with it and work at it, and every day stay motivated to be your best self. Like, I still have struggles. Like, I still have things I have to work on within my career. Like, girl, like, you still struggling with it? Yeah,
like,
I mean,
what do you mean?
Oh, do I have to say?
No, it's just not in detail, but I mean, like,
everybody knows me. I am so not an on-time person.
Okay.
I'm so bad with it, but I swear I'm turning over a new leaf. My family's gonna watch this like, yeah, right. But I promise y'all, I'm really working on it. So,
that's good. You're working on it.
I'm working on it. So, I could definitely say, like, you're still gonna have your struggles. You're still gonna have, your hardships. You're gonna fall short. But you have to, like, okay, you know what? Tomorrow's another day. And you always got to wake up like, today I'm going to do better. Even if you did worse from the day before, you still got to wake up the next day. I'm going to do better. I'm going to work at this. I'm going to do better today. So just, find what you're good at and go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The in the hair salon world, in your career, Can you share any type of experience where you had to adapt to something? Like, was there ever a point where you were like, oh, okay, I thought my goal in this was A, but I'm realizing now that it's B?
Yes. Okay. So once I realized, okay, I could, do this and make it a career.
Yeah.
I started to understand the different levels of this career, how it can go. So I'm like, man, you know what I want to do? I don't want to do hair behind a chair. I don't want to have my own business. What I want to do is I want to travel and be like an artist, a hair artist, not a hairstylist. I want to be a hair artist, and I want to do things like runway. Runway, do stuff for like Vogue and magazine. Like, I was thinking huge,
Gotcha.
That's where I was at, and I'm just like, that's what I really want to do. But, I had a kid at 19. It slowed me down, and things, change. But, and it's not because I had a kid at 19 slowed me down. Things have changed. Even if I didn't, I feel like I would still be where I'm at today.
Okay.
Because, God has a certain purpose for everyone. And I think I know my purpose now is to, give knowledge and empower other women. So how can I give knowledge and empower another person if I'm on the runway, at a runway show, doing a Vogue shoot or whatever it is, and I'm just all hasadidi doing all these things, and no one will ever see me, you know what I mean? And so it would be like, make an appointment to talk to me. That's what I wanted. But you had a different plan. So I always said, they're like, oh, you ever think you want your own business? I was like, no, I'm not gonna be doing this for long. I'm gonna be on an airplane, on the road. I'm gonna be doing things like that, and it didn't work out that way. So this was like, I guess, my plan B, but it's really the plan A.
Right.
If you look at it that way.
But I can appreciate that, because that's something that I'm kind of curious when I talk to people that are doing their own thing. It's like I feel like you have to be willing to accept the change, where growing up, it was kind of like, you got to go to school for this and get a career in something, and that's got to be it for the rest of your life. And I'm like, the older I get, the more I'm like, obviously follow your heart and your passion, but be willing to accept a change if it doesn't go the way you're going.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean that it's a failure. It just means maybe you're supposed to be going this other way.
I feel like bumps in the road, make you who you are. If everything went real smooth, I feel like you'll be a really boring person. You wouldn't have much of a story to tell. You
wouldn't be on the podcast, probably.
Absolutely not. So you definitely need some bumps in the road to, to create, some character. You need character, man. Like you have to go through some adversity in life to grow. With growth and success comes a lot of failure, a lot of setbacks, so. And then, I tell my son now, I tell him, like, hey, everything you have here on this earth, when you die, it's gone. So let's not stress about what you want and where you want to be tomorrow or in the next hour. Let's focus on right now, within the minute, what's in front of you. Let's focus on these small goals, because those small goals are going to build up to one bigger picture.
Yep.
You know, so let's not overwhelm ourselves onto things that you don't have no control of right now. You know, so I always try to tell them that, you know, because once this is gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
So why even stress about things you can't control? Let's just be happy in the moment and be thankful for what we are doing. You know, like, be thankful that you woke up today.
Yeah.
Because there's, you know, people in our lives that are gone. They can't even breathe this air anymore, you know, and they wish they could do that right now.
Right.
So let's be thankful for the smallest things that are actually the biggest things, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like, though, if you do that, and it's hard to, like, and I tell my kids the same thing, my two oldest anyway. My son will be 17. And I'm like, you know, I try to give them advice, and I know they understand it, but I'm like, I have to be then also aware that you're not really going to understand it until you come across the crossroads in your life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I have to learn, like, I'm giving you these gems, but these gems now are seeds. And when you're ready, it'll grow, and then you'll understand what I'm saying. Yeah. But you're right. It's kind of like, don't stress so much about the bigger picture. Let's focus on right here. What do we have here? And let's knock this out the park. Don't worry about that down the road. Don't worry about it. Take a step back and look at what we have here and just appreciate it for what it is. Is it a loss? Okay, this sucks, but you can learn from it. I can't tell you how many times in my life where I was going through something and I was like, how the hell am I going to get through this?
Right.
And somehow 5 years later, I can look back and go, oh yeah, I got through it.
Right.
Like, you don't know it in the moment, but you will get through it. It'll be okay. Don't stress it. Just worry about these small little goals. Let's knock out these small little dreams. And like you said, I like that, because it's true. Small little accomplishments, they build your self-esteem, your confidence.
Right.
They put you in a different frequency.
Yes.
And then you can knock these bigger ones out the park.
Right.
And then when people go, how can you do that? It's because, you know, I knocked out these small little goals. That, like, I wasn't hip to shit like that when I was a kid.
Me neither.
They never teach you that.
They don't teach you that part.
Yeah.
You learn along the way.
Like I said, like, I think our parents, they were in a generation where they did the best that they could.
Absolutely.
And they were raised even harder. And so it's just like, all right, well, I'm going to tell my kids, like, it's, you know, what do you want to do? All right, cool. Are you going to be happy doing it?
Right.
Good.
And let's have a plan B and a C.
Yeah, and have a plan B and C that make you happy.
Right.
But be productive. Don't
Exactly.
just sit on your ass, play video games, and look at TikTok all day.
Right.
You got to be productive. That's all I ask of my kids. Like,
you got to make your kids productive. I feel like you got to come home. Don't just come home, throw your book bag on the floor, and now you, like you said, on the video game, you're on TikTok all day. No, in my house, you come home. What homework do you have?
Yeah.
What you know, what book are we reading today?
Yeah.
Whose chores and who's doing what?
Yeah.
When I get home, better be. Oh, you want dinner done?
Yeah.
There better not be no dishes when I get there.
Yeah. And y'all figure it out.
Yes.
You guys are old enough to figure this out.
Listen, you know,
I still
the oldest one gets away with murder because he's running it. And they're like, oh, what about him? I'm like, don't worry about him.
Yeah.
Worry about you. That's what I always tell. Don't worry about the next. Worry about you. You worry about you. We won't be talk about this right now.
All right. Yep. I appreciate this conversation so much. I definitely thoroughly enjoy. I didn't realize, like, the origins of your journey, and like I said, like, I try to do as much research as I can, but I didn't have much to go off with you. So this was really a really cool experience for me personally, because I genuinely was kind of like going along with what you were giving me in real time.
Right.
But I think for me it was really, really, really cool because I was like learning it in real time too. Like, that's really fucking impressive.
So this was live.
This was live in a way, you know. Like,
it was live.
My reactions were live. But it's like the grassroots experience of, like, this is how I started with nothing. Like, I did it on my own.
Right.
I do have one question for you. Oh wow, I just had a blank. Wow, this is actually happening. I did have a question and now I can't remember what it is.
Oh man, it'll come back to you.
Oh man.
I did want to double back on something.
Yeah, go for
since
it.
you're having a blink at this moment. So when you said what made you come to this podcast, my brother did mention you, so I
Yes.
started following you.
Shout out to Thaddeus, by the way.
Yes, Thaddeus, bro. But I saw Ahmed on your podcast, right?
Yes.
So me and Ahmed, we went to school together.
Okay.
I want to say we graduated the same year, if not a year or two apart. I can't remember.
Okay.
But either way, you know, we both were in cosmetology classes together. Like, you know, we were doing the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I see him in passing, things like that. And then, you know, he started, you know, doing, you know, cutting hair, became a barber, and, you know, same with me. You know, I even went to school with, you know, Flacco. He owned, you know, Flock.
Who's Next,
he
yeah.
owns Who's Next, you know. So to see all of us, you know, doing this still, it's like such an inspiration, you know.
Yeah.
And they really took their career like to levels and stages that I said I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
yeah.
always admired them, like, wow, you know, that's great. So Ahmed had back in the day, I hate to say that. Back in the day, I was probably about like maybe 21-ish, 22. You know, their hair shows were like big. So if you was in a hair show, that kind of like put your name, you know, on the map, and people get to put your name out there. You know, we didn't have social media.
Yeah.
There wasn't, you know, Facebook and all that yet. I think MySpace was probably trying to pop off, but they still weren't using that as a platform for business. You know, it was just more for pleasure.
Gotcha.
So, anywho, these barbers in Lancaster, man, they put some things on the map. I'll tell you that. So they started doing hair shows, things like that. You know, even, you know, Tyreek, he's, you know, one of the goats as well. He, you know, was doing these hair shows, and he was, and then so I saw, you know, Ahmed and, you know, Flock doing the same thing. And I'm like, dang, they don't have that for us.
Yeah.
You know, like, so the barbers were like going crazy in Lancaster, and I think they really put a stamp on to, you know, the creativity in color, designs, and, you know, different type of fades and things like that. Lancaster barbers are elite. Like, I don't even think people understand like how much they
1000%.
inspired and they started a culture.
Yeah.
They really did.
Yeah.
So Ahmed had gave people an opportunity to be in a hair show. So I was like, I'm doing it. I ain't a barber, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was just based off of your raw talent, your creativity. So I didn't have to go in there with a blueprint or anything. I just kind of came up with an idea. We went for it. I had, you know, some people that were interested. They were like great dancers on their own, and they kind of choreographed some things, and we were just so raw with it. We had no guidance. We just did it with a blind eye, and actually like came pretty close to winning. So that was great. So with that being said, when I saw Ahmed on your podcast, and I was like, man, I don't even think he understands, like, due to his show is the reason, part of the major reason why I have the amount of clientele that I still have today.
Wow, there you
because due to that hair show, all of a sudden, I was already kind of popular with, you know, the hair business, whatever. My name was getting around, but I did that. Man, the phones wouldn't stop ringing. My boss was like, Jazz, like, what did you do? I said, remember, I did that hair show. I think that's what's happening. And it was just crazy. I remember working nonstop, 9 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. I remember telling her, like, I need a break. Like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And she was just like, she didn't play. She's like, no breaks, keep going. And I'm like, oh my God. So then, you know, it came to a point where I had to, like, you know, talk to her like, hey, you know, at this point, the amount of money I'm making and the amount of money I'm taking home just doesn't make sense. Yeah. So I had to, you know, part ways with her and open up my own business. But it was because of that hair show that I entered in with Ahmed in Lakers. I only did one because let me tell you, it was expensive. It was a headache. And I was like, shit, I ain't doing this. I don't want to do that again. Competing and all that, you know, it was rough. But, you know, that really put me on the map here in Lancaster, and that definitely is what gave me the clientele and, you know, the movement that I had. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. Like, I didn't really think about it till you brought it up, but like, yeah, and once again, like, you know, shout out to Ahmed and Flock, Tyreek. Like, that is a culture that really started in the 90s into where we are now.
Yeah.
that I feel like growing up for us, like we didn't have something like Champ. Oh, shout out to Champ too, because he really
he
established
fathered a
something.
lot of
Yeah.
them. You know, he gave them an opportunity
Yeah.
to work there, and that's when they all found their flow. I should say
Right.
their creativity just kind of like went crazy.
But before that, I don't know if there was ever like the spot to go get the haircut or the shows like you mentioned, and that kind of like. I wanted to piggyback, now that we're talking about this real quick, I wanted to piggyback off of what I was trying to get to earlier, because when I was mentioning the barber scene, you said it yourself that there was so much of this stuff going on for barbers, but there wasn't anything like that for hair salons or hairstylists.
Right.
So like, how was that experience? Is that still the same now? Is there much more traffic and attention on barbershops in Lancaster than there are hairstylists, or is it the same thing? Or
so when we're talking about certain platforms, see, hairstylists been doing hair color and haircuts since forever, the beginning of time.
I got you.
Okay,
Yeah.
So barbers, they didn't shine a light on a barber. I feel like a barber, you went and got a little $5-10, maybe $20 cut at the most, and wham bam, thank you, man, it's over with.
Yeah, okay.
But see, once the names that we mentioned, Tyreek, Flock, Ahmed, and others, forgive me for not,
Sure.
saying their names at this moment, but they started like coming out with their creativity, like, they started creating their own swag, so with that being said, they started I can't even think of the word at this
Like
moment.
a revolution, I guess.
Right? Yeah, like a revolution. They started a revolution, and it was just like, we're barbers and we don't just cut hair. We also are creative, just as creative as a hairstylist, and we can do color, and we can do, elite hair artistry and things like that, and we could put on a show. Now, don't get me wrong, there's hairstylists and there's hair shows. Okay. I've been to plenty of them. It's not that they don't exist. It's just that they're so like on a whole other level of, you almost have to know someone to know someone to know someone to, where they started the foundation.
Gotcha.
So when you get into a wave of something, you kind of go with the wave and you grow with it.
Yeah.
And to see where they started and where they're at now, and they're still continuing on with it, it's like I have so much respect for them and I admire them. I'm like, wow, they still to this day inspire me, because we've been doing this together, I would say about the same amount of years, if maybe some of them are longer than me, but we've had our businesses and we've been doing this since we graduated high school. So it inspires me to continue to do these things. Mind you, they're pretty popular, they're very popular in the barbershop world. You mentioned certain names of certain people, they're like, oh yeah, you know them, wow, and it's like, yeah, they're up the street from me from my salon, but to other people, they're actually they're looked up to, you know what I'm saying? So I respect that, and appreciate that they did that, because of that culture that they got into, and they took from one level to the next. It gave me an opportunity to grow as well. And I don't think they probably don't ever know that, but Ahmed probably never knew that until now, if whenever he hears this. But I definitely, because he was into these hair shows and all, and that's what these barbers were doing to get their names out there. And not only just to get their names out, it was really just to show their skill. They wanted to show them like, yo, we know what we're doing. Right. If not, we'll teach you something. Yeah. And definitely they created this culture, and it's just like amazing.
Yeah. And I think Lancaster is better for it, because Lancaster's this small little city that has been growing.
We have a lot of gems. Yeah. A lot of gems,
that people aren't aware of.
Exactly.
And it's almost like, and I appreciate you giving them their flowers, because they were, for this area, they were ahead of their time. They were bringing things that were probably already going on and really making them something that now is like, people are accustomed to it now. Where back when they were starting, I remember seeing Flock do shows and being like, what are we doing here? I thought you just cut hair.
Man,
and there's a whole different world that now it's like, yeah, this is what we do. This is how it is, and I'm used to seeing it. So I appreciate you bringing it up, because that's a perspective that I never really thought of. And
yeah, they kind of like created their own elite.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So if you would mention elite barbers in Lancaster, you're going to mention them and some others, but they created that eliteness to a barber because barbers
they took what once was and they leveled it up.
Oh my goodness,
really,
absolutely.
Because you mentioned like there were other barbers that were doing their thing and but it was like
doing their thing in what way? And not doing their thing in, I have 1,000,001 clientele and you only have 1,000, you know?
Right.
It's more the creative aspect of it all.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, like they went crazy with it and you know, created, you know, these designs with color and things like that. And barbers didn't do color. Like I know now if they changed the you have to get a certain amount of hours to get your license as a hairstylist or a barber. And you know, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I think they have to have the same amount of hours as a cosmetologist now.
Okay.
Because they are incorporating color and things like that into the curriculum where before it wasn't that.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's pretty basic. You know, they, you know, certain things like I can't use a razor, but a barber can. You know, there's different things we can do, they can't do, and vice versa. But because I'm not gonna say they're the reason, but they played a major role in, you know, now barbers incorporating color and different things into, you know, the curriculum.
That's dope.
I don't like they created a wave, man, and because of that wave, it got me where I'm at. I just jumped on it like I want to do this because I always wanted to do that and had an opportunity in Lancaster to be in the show. Oh, I'm doing this.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, I'm doing this here. Like you don't know about me, but you're gonna learn today.
There you go.
And I did, and you know, I never did it again. But it helped me get my clientele that I need now, and because of my clientele, I built my business. And with me building my business, then I had an overflow and I needed help.
Okay.
So I started to get help and other stylists and assistants and things like that. And then I had to kind of show them, you know, and then it's like, okay, I could show you some things. And then it actually turned into them having a career. And then it just grew from there. So now, like I said, to kind of bring it all back into play or into, you know, one big circle, I know now my purpose.
There you go.
My purpose is to inspire, you know, women and show them like, you know, if I can do it, so can you. I didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
Growing up, had nothing, not even, you know, a solid family foundation, you know, but look where I'm at today, you know, and, you know, I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy, but I'm still doing it. And, you know, and I can't take all the glory. You know, God got me. I always tell people, oh, how you do? I said, oh, the Lord. I had a prayer and a will. And that's why I'm still here. You know, so it doesn't matter where you start or how you start. If you have prayer and a will, let me tell you, it'll get you so far in life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, word. This is awesome. I do remember my question now.
Okay, good. Let's go.
Can you think of the one, I don't want to say failure because nothing is really a failure. It's a learning opportunity. But was there ever a setback or a learning experience that benefited you the most?
Like career-wise, personal?
Yeah.
Okay, career-wise.
Or whichever. In life.
That benefited me the most. Whew, there's so many. Let me think of one that I can narrow it down to. Wow, you got me thinking now. Benefited me the most. I would say, really, honestly, really stepping out there and opening up my own business. Because when I tell you I was so against it, I was so against it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Like that bad?
Yeah.
Against it?
Yeah, because I was just like, because I was just so fixated on this is what I want to do. I want this.
Traveling.
I want to travel, do hair, do runway. I don't want to do this. I'm only doing this to get me there. You know? Okay.
So you I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
You started it not really wanting to.
Right.
But you were looking at it like a springboard to get to where you wanted to go.
Right. Because I'm like, all right, I need some kind of experience.
Okay.
You
now
know?
I understand. Okay.
So it's like, I don't want to be behind the chair type of stylist. I was so against that. So I had the opportunity to be a part of a hair show. I was like, okay, this is kind of what I want to get into. Let me do it. I did it, and then I realized how much hard work it is, how much money it costs, and it was a lot for me. You know, don't get me wrong. People do it. They do great. Kudos to you. But for me, that's when I realized, okay, you know what? I don't think I want to do hair competitions. I'm done with that part. But like I said, it opened up the door for me. It put my name out there, and it got me the clientele and the overflow that I needed to push me to open up my business, which I never had intentions of doing. And now 15 years later, with my business still being open, I have inspired so many, you know, stylists and women that, you know, came across my way, not even to become hairstylists or professionals, even clients. You know, they come with their stories, and, you know, a hug can go a long way. You know, come, you know, get in my chair and some silence and giving them an aura and a vibe. You know, they'll tell me, Jazz, you don't know what you did to me today. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know, but I'm thankful I was here to help you. You know, so like I said, I know my purpose, and I feel great at doing it. And you know, business gets hard. You know, you have your ups and your downs, and, you know, so sometimes it's super busy and sometimes it's super slow. You're like, ooh, what's going on here? And is this when I'm closing? Is this the year? Like, huh?
Is this how it ends?
Is this how it ends? You know, there's no way. But, you know, like, you know, God still has me here for a reason, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep going with it.
Yeah,
it got me this far. You know.
There you go. Well, Jasmine, this is an awesome conversation.
Oh, thank you.
How do you
glad
feel
you're
now?
here.
You comfortable?
Oh yeah. After I'm gonna glass or two of wine. I'm great now. I'm great.
Hey, Jasmine, a little nervous at first doing this podcast.
Yes, I hate the way I sound. I know once I hear it, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good episode. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for reaching out. I'm grateful.
Absolutely.
All right, this is it.
All right. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.